Hello friends, welcome back, and today we are going to understand about the supervised learning. So there are different kind of learning techniques in the machine learning. So one method is supervised learning and the other one is unsupervised learning. So today we are going to understand about the supervised learning. It's very simple. In case of supervised learning, you provide the data to your computer program or your machine learning program, and that data is labeled data. Labeled data means you have the dependent and independent variables both defined properly. What is the value of independent variable and what is the corresponding value of dependent variable? All those things you provide to your model or to your machine learning model so that it can learn the pattern from that data, right? So we are going to understand soon like how that dependent variable and independent variable works and what is the relation between these two things. So for example, in case of supervised learning, suppose you provide the details or the data about the price of a flat, right? So in that flat, you could have one bathroom, one bedroom, right? One kitchen. So 1 BHK, 2 BHK, 3 BHK, any kind of flat you have, the data you have, and based on that data, you have the price as well for those flats. So based on those, BHKs, like how many bed, room, kitchen, and hall are there, based on that, you are having the set of price for the different flats in a particular area. Okay. So you feed that data to your program, and your program, your machine learning model learns a pattern from that data, and from that pattern, it derives a formula. It devises a formula, and based on that formula, it can predict later on like what should be the price of a particular flat in that particular area if you give him the requirement, if you give that model a requirement. Like I have the requirement of 5 BHK flat, and and in this area, in this particular area, so what will be the price in for the flat in that area? So it will be able to predict you the price for that flat, whatever you want, right? So first it is trained using a label data where you provide all the independent variables, for example, the number of bedrooms, number of kitchens, number of bathrooms, number of bedrooms and kitchen, and size of the hall. So based on that, it is first learning the pattern, like based on the pattern, what is the price of the flat, and based on the price of the flat, and based on the number of BHKs, bedroom, hall, and kitchen, it is able to find out a pattern. Based on that pattern, it will devise a formula, and that formula will be used for the prediction later on, right? So the model tries to find out the formula in such a way so that this formula is, uh, you know, accurate around more than 90%, 95%, so that you can get a more lump sum amount or more lump sum price of a particular flat in that area, right? So this is the example of the supervised learning where you provide the clear cut data with all the dependent and independent variables so that it can learn the pattern. Okay. So let us understand the supervised learning. So imagine you have a student, and his name is considered as AI Junior. So AI Junior wants to learn how to do something, but they need a lot of help and guidance at first. That's exactly what supervised learning is all about. In simple terms, supervised learning is like teaching a child by showing them examples and telling them the correct answers for each example. You supervise their learning process, providing the right answer until they can figure things out on their own. The same way the machine learning works for the supervised learning methodology. Okay. So, what are the things needed for the supervised learning? First thing is data. You need to have the data. You need to have the algorithm. Using that algorithm, you will train your model. Then we have the thing that your model need to learn. What it need to learn? It need to learn to predict the price of the flat, for example, right? After seeing many examples, the program learns to predict the answer for new unseen questions or unseen data. It's like learning from a teacher. Just like a teacher gives you problems and then checks your answer, in supervised learning, the algorithm is constantly getting feedback on whether its predictions are right or wrong, and it adjusts itself to get better. Okay, so it's simple. Like you just show few things to a student and you tell him the correct answer. You train him, and after you believe that yes, enough training has been done, now you bring out some kind of new data, and then you ask him the answer, that what should be the answer. Then he uses his mind, whatever he has learned. Based on that, it started giving you the answers, and based on the answers, you decide whether the answer is correct or not. And if the answer is correct to some extent, then up to what extent, and up to what extent you want to become him or her perfect, right? So based on that, you start training again, right? So this is the same process which happens with the supervised learning. So in the supervised learning, you provide the data which already has all the dependent and independent variables, their values, their respective values, and based on that, it tries to find out the pattern. So this is a classic example, identifying a cat picture. So you can read it yourself, but still I'm just narrating it. Let's say you want to build a system that can tell if a picture contains a cat or not. So you are the teacher, for example. You gather a huge collection of pictures. For every picture, you carefully label it as either cat or not cat, right? The student, the algorithm. Now, what does the algorithm will do? You feed all these labeled pictures to your supervised learning algorithm. And what is the training process and what it will do? The training process will be doing like the algorithm looks at the picture you labeled as cat. It tries to identify features common to cat like whiskers, pointy ears, fur patterns. Then it looks at a picture you labeled no cat. It learns what features are not associated with cats. It does this for thousands, even million of pictures, constantly adjusting its internal rules to better distinguish between cat and non-cats. So when you teach, when you feed the data to your machine learning model to identify whether a animal is cat or not, then in that case, you feed the data in different formats. You use the same picture, but you use the same picture to in different orientations, in different colors. So when you use the same picture to create different patterns, different orientations, different shades of the colors, then this process is known as the data augmentation. So in such kind of learning where you are using the images, data augmentation is one of the features that is utilized. Using the same picture, you can use different orientations so that from any angle or from any orientation, if something comes in front of you and it is asked whether it is cat or not, then your model should be able to identify it, that yes, this is cat or this is not a cat, right? So this is what happens in the training process. Then comes the outcome. After much training, when you show the algorithm a brand new picture it has never seen before, it can now confidently tell you if it believes there is a cat in it or not, based on what it's learned from all the labeled examples. So whatever it has learned from the labeled examples, it will be able to tell you. So in a sense, supervised learning is about learning from a labeled data set to make predictions or classification on new unlabeled data. Okay. So this is the basic concept related to the supervised learning, and I hope this is sufficient to understand the supervised learning. Supervised learning is all about, the only thing you need to know is that it is trained using a labeled data. That's it. That's the only definition. But yeah, just to give you the example, just to explain you in the better way, I just brought up this example. Okay. So with this, I would like to conclude this particular video, and in the next video, we will meet soon. Till then, have a nice day and bye bye. Thank you.